EA Sports made some pretty important changes in College Football 26 that they didn't completely tell us about. So in this video, I'm going to go over the 6 things that they changed that you absolutely need to know about. And if you are new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with all the latest College Football 26 news and tips, make sure to subscribe and turn the bell icon on so you don't miss any of these important videos. The first thing we need to talk about is the playmaker on offense. This is one of the best tactics you can use, but they changed it this year. Now in the past, you would simply just flick the right stick up and it would send your nearest receiving option up the field or in the direction you wanted them to go. But if you try just flicking the right stick this year, you're literally going to stand here. Nothing is going to happen because they have now changed how this works. So this year, what you want to do instead is hold down the left trigger or the L2 button while also pointing the right stick in the direction you want your player to go. An area where this can be really good this year is if you have a drag against zone defense, you can send them up the field, or a running back route that's underneath as well. If you send this up the field, it can get into these nice open holes against zone and you can make some really big plays out of this. It can also be really useful in the scramble drill. If you're rolling out and you need to send somebody up the field as a last second bailout, this can turn into some massive yards. So go in practice mode and get familiar with the playmaker feature. Use left trigger or L2 while directing the right stick. This can take your offense to a whole nother level. Now that brings us to number 2, which is why the playmaker feature was changed, and that's juking in the backfield with your quarterback. Now this one in particular, they did tell us about, but some people still don't know how to do it correctly because I don't think they explained it fully. So when you're in the backfield, there is opportunities with your QB to juke, but if you try to just juke regularly, this is going to happen. You're going to get sacked and you're not going to actually pull off a juke. What you need to do if you want to juke out in the backfield is you need to be holding down the right trigger. Now, do keep in mind, I don't think that this is the, best thing in the world to do. You can fake people out sometimes, but I do find that if you're in a situation where you're trying to juke in the backfield with your quarterback, a lot of times it's just going to end in you getting sacked or getting hit. There can be some rare situations where this might work for you, but more times than not, I think you're better off just trying to get out of the pocket yourself. Don't try to run around too much in the backfield trying to juke people out. I just think more times than not, it's going to lead to your QB getting hurt or you just losing a lot of yards. But if you want to do it properly, you have to hold down the right trigger or the R2 button while performing the juke in the backfield. Otherwise, he will just stand still. Number 3 is another big one, how to truck with your running back. People seem pretty confused this year in how to pull off a successful truck, and that's because this year the truck button applies to 2 completely different mechanics. So when people try to truck sometimes, they're not getting the animation that they expect, they're not falling forward like this, and instead what's happening is their player is reaching the ball forward. So instead of actually doing a truck animation, what's happening is the running back is doing this. He's trying to reach out for extra yards. But the problem with this is that this also leads to a lot of fumbles. And you really only want to do this if you're reaching for the goal line, not at this part of the field. So what you need to make sure you're doing if you want to pull off a successful truck with your ball carrier is you need to lightly flick the right stick up as you're making contact. You cannot, under any circumstances, hold the right stick all the way up like you could in the past. You must lightly flick it quickly as you're making contact with the defender. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have a successful truck every time, but what's going to happen is he'll at least attempt to truck like this, and he won't be reaching the ball out at risk of fumbling. This is something you just simply have to practice to get the muscle memory down. To truck, you flick the stick up really quickly, and to reach the ball forward, you simply hold the right stick all the way up. Hey, really quickly, while you're here, I did want to mention that I do offer a membership where I post all of my ebooks and my highest level offensive and defensive strategies to help you dominate and win all of your games. You can get a free trial for a week at no cost to you, and if you want a yearly membership with a heavy discount, use code CFB40. Link is in the pinned comment below. Number 4 is a quick one, but I've seen a lot of people have trouble with this. How to change your camera angle. So in the past, you could change your camera angle by going up or down on the D-pad. Sometimes you accidentally will hit the D-pad and you might change your camera angle to this and you don't want that. Or maybe you're changing it to this and you also don't want this because you just can't see the field properly. Now in the past, like I said, you could go up or down on the D-pad. So if you accidentally went down, you would click up on the D-pad to get right back to the original camera. However, this year, if you hit up on the D-pad, it brings up this new mechanic, which are subs on the fly, where you can sub out your players while you're on the field, and then on the next play, the players you subbed in will come in. However, this gets people in a bad situation because if they accidentally change their camera to something like this, and then they hit up on the D-pad to try to bring it back, well, this is what's going to happen, and then the play clock's running. You're either going to have to snap the ball with a bad camera angle, call a timeout, or you're going to have a delay of game. So this year, if you want to change the camera angle, simply, you just have to keep hitting down on the D-pad. This will cycle through all the different camera camera options. You can no longer use up on the D-pad, and I know maybe some people know this already, but for those that didn't know, this will save you a lot if you accidentally hit this in game. You need to be able to quickly get back to your right camera so that you can snap the ball. Number 5 is a really big one they changed this year. How to QB contain. So if you're facing people that like to roll out a lot, sometimes you want to throw a QB contain out there to try to stop them. Now in the past, what you would do is hit the RB or R1 button, and then you would hit that same button again. But if you do that this year, notice what happens. The entire defense presses, which is one of the last things you want to do, because if you have a one-on-one on the outside and you accidentally press, this could turn into potentially giving up a touchdown over the top just like this. So this year, if you want to QB contain, it is important that you know the difference. You need to press the RB or R1 button, and then you need to follow that up with the LB or L1 button. That will put your edge rushers into a contain, and that will not press your defense. Now, this is one of the most drastic changes just simply because they took a mechanic that just contains quarterbacks, and they changed it to pressing your entire defense, which is just crazy because if you press your defense in a situation where you do not want them pressed, that literally gives up touchdowns. It gives up big plays. It completely compromises your defense. So I wish they would have done something different here. So now hopefully the contain works as intended, and if your opponent rolls out, he should lose yards. Number 6 is another big one. If you accidentally get caught on your defensive line in game, which let's be honest, it happens to all of us, you're not going to be able to get back on a defender if you don't know the proper button inputs, which they have changed this year. Now I'm going to go here and I'm going to zone out some of these pass rushers just so I can demonstrate how this works. So if you get caught on a guy who is rushing on the D-line, you must first use the D-pad, flick that up, and then once you are on a defender, now you can go back to switch sticking with the right stick. But if you try to switch stick off the D-line, you're not going to be able to. You're just going to be stuck here. So you must use the D-pad, and once you use that, you can get onto your coverage guys and then use the right stick to then switch stick between players. Or maybe you don't want to switch stick. You just want to stay on a linebacker or a safety. All you have to do is flick that D-pad up to get on that guy. But this also applies to if you are on a guy that's rushing. So sometimes somebody likes to blitz their user just because it makes the defensive line have to account for him as a pass rusher. So people do this when they want to rush less guys, but still be able to get some type of block shed. Because if you only rush 2 guys, typically you're not going to get good block shed. Even with 3, sometimes you won't either. So you need to have your user rushing sometimes in order for the game to respect the fact that there is technically another guy rushing. So in this situation, the same thing applies. You cannot switch stick with the right stick because he's in a blitz assignment. You must first use the D-pad to get on somebody else, and then from that point, you can switch stick. Now I'm going to throw in a bonus one here because this one was annoying me for a while until I figured it out. If you want to respot the ball in practice mode, in the past there were different ways you could do this. I used to hold down both triggers and then click the left stick in. That doesn't work anymore. So what you have to do is you have to make sure you're holding the left analog stick in, and as you're holding it in, you want to tap the left trigger or L2 button, and that will allow you to respot the ball. I think you could do it like this in the past, but there were also other ways. For example, the way I was saying that I did it, that always worked for me, but now it seems like a lot of those other ways where you would just press them all at the same time don't work. So you need to hold the left stick in, tap L2 or left trigger, and you'll be able to move it around without having to pause the game, which takes more time. Now, if you want to know about the 26 absolute best tips and tricks to help you win more games in college football 26, make sure to check out this important video right here on the screen.